Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Bud Knight.
And I am Sir Ezra the Watchful. Welcome to our Song of Ice and Fire book club. It's Follow-Up Friday, and boy, do we have a good one, a surprise. Some good stuff here in the beginning, so real excited.
Yeah, so I don't know, when was this announced, Sir Ezra? I guess it was announced
well, let's see.
27th, so today.
Today, that's what I thought, because, I mean, I assumed I would have seen the, yeah, so today, September 27th, 1:29 p.m.
So maybe by the time you're listening to this, which will be tomorrow morning, you have seen it, or if not, well, we'll tell you about it, and that is Gurr on his Not a Blog. I'm always on Not a Blog watch, always just kind of, making sure, seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
In Gurr's thoughts, and he left us a huge Fire and Blood excerpt.
Yeah.
Sir Ezra and I have kind of talked a little bit about how we were kind of nervous. We were excited for Fire and Blood, but a little nervous for this one because there's already 3 novellas that take place during this time period, and so we're like, I wonder if it's just going to end up being a bunch of recycled material, and that does not seem to be the case.
No, not at all. I mean, I am, stoked. I honestly cannot believe you sent me the tail end of this while I was at work. I had parent-teacher conferences, and I have a parent walk in, and they see me just pacing as I'm kind of reading and, fist pumping, and they're like, wow. They're like, what are you all excited about? I'm like, new passage, Fire and Blood, They had no idea what I was talking about.
It's awesome. And so what it is the one thing you and I have talked about with Fire and Blood is that the thing we were hoping for the most would be stuff about Jaehaerys, King Jaehaerys, because there's such a big time gap in there in World of Ice and Fire, and we know he was the best king Westeros has ever had, and there's nothing on there, right? There's nothing really in World of Ice and Fire. It's just he was great, times were great. There's a period of peace for 50 years. And so we don't really have any news on that. And so this is this expert kind of tells us a lot and tells me a lot about how good Fire and Blood would be. And first of all, there's a big artwork page, and wow, it looks great. It's all black and white, and I think that's the way it's going to be for the whole book. But man, is that a good looking picture?
Oh gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and this is of King Jaehaerys and Queen Alicent.
Yeah,
so,
and it just makes me really excited to get the hard copy book, which I don't normally go for. But man, after seeing this artwork, I'm like, nope, gotta get that. So it's a handful of paragraphs. I'd say it's probably maybe 14 or so paragraphs, and it starts at around 58 AC. Excuse me, and it's about King Jaehaerys and Alicent had made their plans to go to Winterfell and to the north. But King Jaehaerys, I guess, gets kind of tied up in some other stuff dealing with the free cities. And so it's more about Queen Alicent's kind of travels. And it talks about her going to White Harbor and meeting with the Manderleys, and then going to Winterfell, and then going to the Wall with her dragons. Right. Or with her dragon.
Yep. So...
Yeah,
Silverwing, right?
Yeah,
that's the name of her dragon.
Yeah, Silverwing, and so some of this is just the most interesting things here. I want to pick this apart. The 2 most interesting things for me. You can find this all on Gurr's on GeorgeRRMartin.com/notablog. That's where he kind of moved his blog to. The 2 things that stuck out to me was this whole thing about the Manderleys. Kind of staging attorney in the Queen's honor, and how the Manderleys really kind of befriend her.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
And that is interesting. But I also find it interesting that they capture there's a captured wildling woman.
Yeah.
And they have fight in this tournament and is actually doing pretty well.
Yeah, it was. She actually at one point summons her own sworn shield.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jonquil Dark, I think. And it was known as the Wildling and the Scarlet Shadow. Dueled spear against sword, which is pretty cool. So,
and it's just interesting to me because it's there's another time I can think of when a woman may have fought kind of in the tournament. and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Right.
potentially Lyanna Stark. And so I just thought, well, to me that was just a connection that immediately kind of jumped out to me, like, oh, okay. And then just some things here where she's meeting like the who is the Stark? What is the Stark's Alaric Stark? Is that his name?
I think that's how you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, Alaric Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the North, and winter is coming. We cannot feed 1,000 men for long, and just talking about because the Starks don't really travel south that often, or people from the North too. And I just think
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is, and he's cold. I mean, his demeanor is I don't know. He's just like the sense of humor is different. He's when Catelyn talks about how different the Northmen are, this guy really like exemplifies that.
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of even a shock for Queen Alicent to kind of show up there and meet him. And even it says that Lord Manderley, was although he's sworn to him and they have a lot of respect for him, he still was kind of like, yeah, what they say about him is true. He's
Right.
kind of a cold, rough around the edges type of guy. So just interesting the way that they're and they like the reception was different, right? So as you said, like House Manderley like had everybody out there. You couldn't believe how many people were in White Harbor, and then you get to Winterfell and it's just like him and his son come strolling out, or something.
Yeah.
That's it, like what's up. Just different,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's just it is. And just something else when they talk about the Manderleys a little bit and how the Manderleys are from the Reach, and how the Manderleys brought the Seven with them, and you always just kind of forget because like they're really not prevalent in the show, the Manderleys.
Sure.
You just kind of assume, oh yeah, they're just in the North, but really the Manderleys they came from the Mander, which is a river over in the Reach, and so they did kind of bring that Southern influence with them as they took over White Harbor.
Yeah, for sure they did. When it says there's more backstory, we haven't got to it in A World of Ice and Fire yet, but there's a lot of backstory on why Lord Manderley or the Manderleys had to move, the rivalries that took place, and I think that might be significant moving forward in the series,
Right.
because Lord Manderley's turning out to be kind of a big deal there in White Harbor. So
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's interesting. And so what I thought, do you want to do some more big takeaways from this? I mean, because what I thought was most interesting.
I think you and I are going to get there when she goes to the wall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Queen Alicent flies to the wall on her dragon, and there's not really a lot here about it. I think I can read most of this here. Things in the North, Queen Alicent grew restless with waiting and decided to take her leave of Winterfell for a time and visit the men of the Night's Watch at Castle Black. The distance was not negligible, even flying. Her Grace landed at the last hearth and several smaller keeps and holdfast on her way, to the surprise and delight of the lords, whilst a portion of her tail scrambled after her. The rest remained at Winterfell. Her first sight of the wall from above took Alicent's breath away. Her Grace would later tell the king. There had been some concern how the queen might be received at Castle Black, for many of the Black brothers had been poor fellows and warrior sons before those orders were abolished. But Lord Stark sent ravens ahead to warn of her coming, and the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, Lorther Burleigh, assembled 800 of his finest men to receive her. That night, the Black brothers feasted the queen on mammoth meat washed down with mead and stout. As dawn broke the next day, Lord Burleigh took her Grace to the top of the wall. Here the world ends, he told her, gesturing at the vast green expanse of the haunted forest beyond. Burleigh was apologetic for the quality of the food and drink presented to the queen and the rudeness of the accommodations at Castle Black. We do what we can, your Grace, the Lord Commander explained. But our beds are hard, our halls are cold, and our food is nourishing, the queen finished, and that is all that I require. It will pleasure me to eat as you do. The men of the Night's Watch were as thunderstruck by the queen's dragon as by the people of White Harbor had been, though the queen herself noted that Silverwing does not like this wall. Though it was summer and the wall was weeping, the chill of the ice cold still be felt whenever the wind blew, and every gust would make the dragon hiss and snap. Thrice I flew Silverwing high above Castle Black, and thrice I tried to take her beyond the wall, Alysanne wrote to Jaehaerys. But every time she veered back south again and refused to go. Never before has she refused to take me where I wish to go. I laughed about it when I came down again, so the Black brothers would not realize anything was amiss. But it troubled me then, and it troubles me still.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, it's troublesome. Why wouldn't Silverwing go north
Right.
of the wall?
Right.
What was it that, I mean, because she has really good control over her dragon. I mean,
Right.
she's in a city full of people at White Harbor and has no, they have good mastery of their dragons, so I think that's extremely interesting. And the fact that Silverwing is hissing and snapping at the cold wind, and it's actually not even that cold right now. It's not like it's still sort of, what does it say? Though it was summer, the wall was weeping. It's still acting this way, which is interesting. And you
Right.
could just say, well, it just, this dragon is not used to being in this temperature, and so it's irritated. But what's the difference between being on one side of the wall and the other side of the wall? It's sort of like,
Right.
why wouldn't that? It's not that much colder over there, right? Because this thing is flying above the wall. So, I kind of feel like there's some magical, something going on.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so in the show, right, Daenerys just flew her dragons over the wall, no problem. So now that's causing me to wonder if this is the case, is that going to be different in the books? Or does Daenerys, say, have a stronger bond with her dragons? Or is it that Silverwing is like a weaker dragon, and maybe Daenerys has stronger dragons?
yeah, I hear you. I definitely think there's something. I know that there's something special about her bond with her dragons, but I believe you're going to have to break some sort of spell. I think some spell is going to have to be broken there for her to go beyond the wall. If she does do it that same. I don't even know. I'm actually thinking now that she's not going to do that. That these dragons, I don't know, man. I after reading that, I'm sort of like, I don't think that's how it's going to happen in the books at all.
Okay.
I don't know. Just my thought.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
We shall see.
I think it might be different. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it is Daenerys has a stronger bond with her dragons, and we know that Drogon, or Drogon is supposed to be, is essentially possibly Balerion, like kind of reborn. That's what a lot of people think. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be, for sure. I just think I would love to see, maybe we'll get another nod to this or something where another dragon struggles going beyond the wall. I don't know how much we'll get of the Targaryens going this far north. So this is interesting. Although I will say, I think what happens, because we kind of know from A World of Ice and Fire, eventually the gift, or the new gift, are given over to the Night's Watch.
Right.
And I think it has something to do with this. I think, at the end it says, but it troubled me then, and it troubles me still.
Yeah.
And she kind of sees that they need, more supplies.
Right. And something else to think about is that it's summer, right? And so
yeah, correct.
You would think maybe, I don't know, is it the White Walkers? Are they moving around, the others? Or they happen to be close to the wall right now, and the dragon can sense that?
That's scary. That's scary.
Yeah, I don't know, because we don't really know anything about the White Walkers moving. We don't really know about how often they've actually tried to push against the wall. Is it now the first time they've ever tried to do it? Like where we're at in the book and the show, or presumably the books, and the show. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's weird because we think, that all of this that's happening with the others and what have you is like something new, but it very well may not have been something new, because actually there's more evidence. I think Maester Aemon, and even when Sam starts to look into it, evidence that there were references to the others, and to whites, and things north of the wall. So, going back to the old king, I think during his reign, I think you could say there might have been actually some more of that movement going on, and the wildlings might have known more about the others, at that time than we do now.
Yeah.
They could have been more active, as you said, which is interesting. Even though it's summer, it really doesn't matter. I don't think. I think it's just that they're there,
Right.
and they're still north of the. It's still cold, But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that it really, I'm really excited for Fire and Blood now. I have after seeing that, I definitely have a different sense of, or a better sense, I should say, of what Fire and Blood is going to be. I almost feel like it's that read to me, just that little passage read kind of like the way the novellas read.
Yes, it did.
So it makes me think that Fire and Blood is going to be just one kind of large novella. Not really like a novel, but more in depth than World of Ice and Fire.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So,
well, yeah, because it is more of that. You get some dialogue. This sort of. I mean, we still covered quite a bit there. We covered the stopping in at White Harbor, going to Winterfell, and then up to the Wall in less than But it still felt more like a story and like a what I'm saying. I don't know. So you guys have to go check it out. You have to go read it. And just let us know what you think, because
and get ready for Fire and Blood, and just remember that Fire and Blood is also told to us through Archmaester Gildane, the same kind of author as World of Ice and Fire.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's a quick little interview at the bottom of that page. There's a YouTube video where it's just kind of like a promo for Fire and Blood, and Gur is talking about it. And he's like, "Remember, this isn't written by me. It's written by Archmaester Gildane." So,
wow. Old Gildane, huh?
Yeah. So that's good. It's just interesting. It's good. It's good information. I'm pumped. I'm ready for Fire and Blood. I feel like we're gonna have more questions than answers when Fire and Blood comes.
Yep. I'm okay with that. Yep.
So.
All
right, here. Let's go ahead and move into some of the actually trivia last week. The trivia was, who declares Robb Stark the king in the North? There sits the only king I mean to bend my knee to, my lords, the king in the North, and that is Jon Umber, or Great John. And the winner was Gus, our old buddy Gus. So
nice.
We'll have another trivia question later for in this episode. Just wanted to make sure he got that he was the winner. So all right, here from Varamir Foreskins. Someone in the group brought up a good point about the format of Bend the Knee working around the new books coming out. I'm curious, but what can you tell us about how the show will look when Fire and Blood is out, and when Winds eventually comes out? Will you be dropping everything for a while to focus on those? If so, how will you talk about them without spoiling for fans who haven't gotten to the new books yet? Wondering now so I can plan on how to go about reading the new books while still listening to the podcast. That's good. That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And the first thing that came to my mind was it might get spoiled. It just might get spoiled for people.
Yeah, I think my initial response was shut it all down. It's too much. I can't handle it anymore. Just shut it down,
Yeah, just shut it down.
Just shut it down. Yeah. Sometimes Sir Ezra and I would joke with each other. We look at the numbers and we're just like, man, everything's just growing and growing. It's like, it's too much.
Yeah.
Just shut it down. Okay.
It's like the days when we used to work at the factory, and we'd be leaving and clocking out. Just shut her down.
Shut her down.
Just shut the old machine down.
Yeah. No, but I actually did respond to Varamir Foreskins personally, but just to answer that for everyone. So with Fire and Blood, what we're going to be doing is we're going to move that to the Maester's study of the main show Monday. Because it kind of works out that we're almost done with World of Ice and Fire, and that can kind of just slide right in there. Of course, any theories and ravens you guys want to talk about specifically with that, obviously we'll do that, on our big follow-up Friday kind of thing. And then Strezzer and I are still working out what/if Winds of Winter as ever comes out. But right now we're kind of tentatively kind of tossing around the idea of having Follow-Up Friday start with like the Winds of Winter chapter, kind of the way we do with like the main show, and then have the rest of the show devoted to Ravens. But that's kind of when/if Winds of Winter comes out.
Yeah, correct. And another thing that could happen, I would like people's feedback on all of that, because if Winds of Winter comes, let's say the show hits and then Winds of Winter comes afterwards, and everyone's like, you know what, I think we need a Winds of Winter Wednesday. Then
we've thought of that too. Well, because right, so like we know that once Fire and Blood comes out, a lot of our Ravens are probably going to be Fire and Blood Ravens, because they're just going to expand the world, and then when lead up to the show, is going to be so many Ravens that are going to be show heavy, and when Winds of Winter comes out, I mean, again, a lot of the Ravens are going to be Winds heavy because it's going to change everything. So. I mean, yeah. we have kind of a plan A, B, and C in place. Just kind of depends on what happens. Like if Winds comes out during the time the show comes out, we'll probably drink ourselves to death because we're not going to be able to keep up.
I was like, what? I was like, what are you saying? No, I can't do that.
Yeah, if Winds of Winter, if he did that? Releases the same day as like season 8, I don't know. That's why I'm gonna have to like quit.
Crazy.
Quit
our jobs.
Yeah, So no, we'll see. We have some plans in place, and we've already decided that we're probably gonna do an initial. Strezzer and I are just gonna blast through Winds of Winter like on a weekend, like the weekend it comes out. And then do like an immediate, and we're probably gonna do the same with Fire and Blood, is we're just gonna blast through it and then do like a special episode that is just hey, like here are just our thoughts on that. We just read it. Here are our just kind of standalone thoughts. And then with Winds of Winter, we will cover it again in 5 years once we get to it, if it's out by then.
Right. Yeah. So the Fire and Blood will have like a one-off. Yeah, just review. Same thing with Winds, just a one-off kind of bonus episode. Could drop on a Tuesday, could be a Saturday. We have no idea.
Knows, yeah.
So, yeah, we'll figure that out. But I like your idea of, I guess I like the idea, looking at what Veramir is asking there, like, will there be spoilers, and how can we avoid those if we need/want to? And I think if you just said, look, well, here's a whole episode dedicated to Winds when it comes out, which it probably deserves its own episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, yeah,
that's just going to be our initial thoughts, and our minds are going to be all over the place. That might be like a 10-hour episode, or like.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll take some feedback and figure out as we get closer. I can't wait for, it's a good problem to have. It's good to know we have content coming out. So
yeah.
But all right.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll adjust as we go. So okay, all right. So here's one from Lady Sydney. She had kind of messaged us a while back. Hey guys, first I apologize in advance because I'm behind on the podcast. My semester got busier quicker than I expected. Real quick, I'll continue with the rest of that. No one ever needs to apologize to us for being behind on the podcast. That's So we have people who are like, hey, I just started. Okay, awesome. Like we're
right.
If you include the old episodes and the new, this is actually our 100th episode, I believe, on the actual podcast feed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. So yeah, never ever need to apologize. And then they're there. They stay there forever, unless Podbean is freaking out, which has been the case as of late. But you can you can listen to 4 or 5 a day if you want. So anyway, all right. However, my one professor and I talk Game of Thrones almost every day, and we were talking the other day about how we think the wall is going to fall. So my question is, how do you think it's going to happen in the books? We've talked a lot about this, and since The Horn of Winter is the cover of the next book, we definitely think it's going to happen that way. basically, we think the dragon horn Euron finds is actually going to be the Horn of Winter. Euron is going to reach Dany and show her this horn can control her dragons in hopes of her wanting to marry him. When she blows the horn, she will actually gain control of her dragons, which is important because in the books they don't listen to her really like they do in the show. But the wall is also going to fall. What do you guys think?
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think I've heard people talk about the wall falling, right? And the wall coming down. I don't know if it is.
Okay.
That's just I'm probably going to be on it in the minority here. But that wall's got some special powers.
It does.
You know? And let me also note that there is a group of men, defending that wall. Okay?
Yeah.
So, they are the shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
That guards the realms of men.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Honestly, it could be. The horn seems to be. It's going to be significant. Obviously, it's on the cover. Will it help Dany with controlling her dragons? I don't think so. Actually, I think it might end up being a bad thing. But then I'm not necessarily sure, because wasn't there some sort of rumor, or was there something in World of Ice and Fire that talked about how the Valyrians used to control their dragons? Was there something? Did we miss?
Did they do it differently? Oh, you might have to look that up.
That's what I'm wondering. Was it done in a different way? But I don't know. I know right now that Victorian Greyjoy is on his way, and he has the horn that Euron gave him. And they're kind of debating as to who's going to blow the horn, because they know it's going to
kill somebody,
burn them up, burn them from the inside out. So there's that. You still have to
maybe it won't burn Daenerys because she's kind of fireproof.
There you go. Maybe she can. There you go, Sir Matt.
Well, that's what that's what Lady Sydney's I think is pointing to.
Yeah, I like that, because then the idea, that makes a lot of sense. Holy smokes! I never
thought of that. I never thought of it too. So until Lady City pointed it out, kind of out there. Know, when I was in the show, when Bran goes, when he's training to become the Three-Eyed Raven, he kind of finds the Night King's army assembling, and the Night King kind of touches him, and it freaks out. Yep. Yeah. And so I kind of thought the way it would happen was Bran kind of leaves, right? And then actually I think it's different. Doesn't Cold Hands help him south of the wall then? Because Hodor dies when he leaves.
I would think. Yeah.
I think it is kind of different in the show. I can't remember exactly how he gets south of the wall, or if we don't actually see it. We know he escapes with Mira.
I don't actually remember. I think,
that to me that kind of seems like it broke the spell, right? Or maybe then the others knew where he was, so they kind of came for him. So I always kind of thought the way it would happen in the show was Bran would go south of the wall. In that, because the Night King kind of touched him or marked him or whatever, it would kind of break some of the magic of the wall, and that would be how it fell. I did not expect him to, Daenerys to fly over with her dragons, him take one, and him kind of burn it down. I do, however, like the idea of a horn, and the horn has been around so long. I still am in kind of this idea that it's not going to be the Night King being overly powerful. It's going to be somebody doing something thinking it's a good idea, and it's a terrible idea. It goes terribly wrong, right? Maybe Daenerys blows this horn thinking, oh, it'll let me control my dragons, but it actually causes the wall to fall or something. I don't know how. I don't know how she would get all the way over there, or how it works if you just blow it anywhere in the world and it does it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what Sydney's kind of saying. My only thing is, it has been blown. But maybe it does take, like you said, like a Targaryen, or someone with that blood or that power to truly blow it.
Yeah, maybe.
So there's that. But because the sound was awful, right? I mean,
Right.
I think people were kind of in awe. So we're not even really sure whether that is the horn,
Right.
So there's
remember,
all still that to
remember, Mance thinks he has one, and then
yeah.
Melisandre orders that one that they kind of set the fake one to be burned because she doesn't want that to happen. So
correct. Yeah.
yeah.
So we have to check and see, what we got in that horn there for sure.
Right, and I think we'll definitely find out in Winds of Winter.
Yes.
But now that we are, but now I don't know, that passage from Fire and Blood kind of changes my mind on things, because are dragons afraid of the wall?
Yeah, they definitely. Right, Silverwing did not like the wall.
So what if it's like way later than we think? What if like Daenerys somehow gets to the wall and then tries to fly her dragons over and they don't listen, so she blows the horn thinking it'll give me more control, and then that's actually how it comes down?
Huh? Yeah. I don't know. I actually what I think might be almost cooler is if like, let's say you knew there was a risk, because if it's just like what because if you blow that horn, then all of a sudden like something it just, there's no explanation, all of a sudden the wall just falls. It'd be one thing. It'd almost be a little bit better if it's like, okay, we know there's this risk, but does the benefits of blowing this horn outweigh the risk? You know, and that might put them in a dilemma. And so you got tactical, you got people arguing, you've got people debating what to do, and so that might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Sydney. It's a good question. I mean,
it's a great question.
But I don't know. Going back to my original point, that I like foresaw the wall coming down. I thought that I guess that there would be a way in which they could pass through.
Yeah, there are gates that they could. Wall, yeah.
Yeah, I thought they might be able just to kind of pass through, and that maybe, as you said, that they might try, and that there's some magical spells that we kind of learn about. Well, they were broken.
Right.
Here's why they're broken, and then now they're coming through. Can we restore them? No. Okay, we have to fight.
Right, and then from like Mance Rayder's point of view and kind of the Wildling point of view, is they think that the Horn of Winter is actually north of the wall, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's possible they try this horn and it's not the real deal, and then Euron goes north of the wall. I mean, the Winds of Winter could go totally 100% different than the show. So, I mean, I'm open for any idea on, on it. And there's a lot of other people that think that there's a big theory that there's a dragon, like an ice dragon in the wall, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so maybe the Night King somehow gets the real Horn of Winter, which is north of the wall, and he blows it. I don't know.
Wait, say that again?
So, like Mance Rayder and Mance Rayder and the Wildlings think that the Horn of Winter is actually north of the wall, right? Like they were going and they were digging up crypts of old, right? So what if there is actually an ice dragon in the wall? So there's kind of pulling like 4 or 5 theories here and kind of making
I got you. Yeah.
So there are some people that think there's an actual ice dragon in the wall. Well, what if maybe the Night King somehow gets hold of this Horn of Winter, like the actual Horn of Winter, and blows it, and then that's how he gets an ice dragon and the wall comes down.
Gotcha. Huh. That would be interesting.
That would be another way to do it. That would still be similar outcome to the show, but a different way of doing it.
Right. Yeah. Huh. That's it. I see. So basically, yeah, because we do know. I mean, I think Tormund and Ygritte actually say they talk about how that horn is a fake.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's mentioned. I can't remember exactly. It's something. Ygritte's talking to Jon about it, and then I think Tormund, when he comes down after Val goes and meets with him and stuff, they talk again about the horn. And it was something about like due to either its markings or its size or something that told them that it wasn't the true horn of Joramun,
right.
But yet they were still, because they were still searching for it, but they had one that they were ready to kind of bluff with,
right?
With the Night's Watch, yeah. So, and then Euron shows up with this horn that's like burning people from the inside out. And it's sort of like, wait, what? Now, see, what I don't know is, I don't think that horn is the Horn of Winter. Because I guess I imagine that the Horn of Winter would do different if it was going to hurt someone in some way, or if it was magical, it would almost freeze you from the inside out or something. I don't know. I'm just maybe that's me being super simple there, but I don't know.
Well, I think that there's other thing is that there might be two different horns, right? There might be the Horn of Winter and the dragon binding horn, right? Or dragon binder, like they could be two different things. So, it's just that I think that some people think that the horn Euron has is dragon binder, but some people also think, I think this is kind of what Sydney's kind of saying here, is it's actually the Horn of Winter, not dragon binder, or maybe it is. I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Okay.
Melisandre called it the Horn of Darkness.
Yeah.
Didn't like it.
So, all right here. Well, thank you very much, Lady Sydney, for that. All right, our good Lord James Hunter here. Good evening, Sir Matt. Quick question. Are the Dunk and Egg novellas all in the same book, or are they three separate ones? He listened to it on YouTube. So real quick on that, just so people can find it easily. There are three separate books. You have the Hedge Knight, the Sworn Sword, and the Mystery Knight. But if you want to buy it today, because those are from like the late 90s, early 2000s, I don't even know how you would. It's actually, I think, kind of difficult to find them separated from what I've seen. So the easiest way to do it today is to get the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. It's like $20. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or whatever, and it has all three of those stories, and then you can they're just combined. And it's really nice. The hardcover book is really nice. The audio book, which we talk about all the time, is phenomenal, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So, and that is Lord Hunter, the Foul-Mouthed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, all right. Here's one from a new person here. His first Raven. I shall go by Brown Ben Zaza. I hope that's correct there. He says, all right, I was listening to A Clash of Kings, Chapter 31, Catelyn, while falling asleep until I heard this. He says, is this a clue towards Bran existing through multiple areas of time? On the night of their wedding, Elenai had yielded her maidenhood to a mortal's love and thus doomed herself to a mortal's death. And her grieving parents had unleashed their wrath and sent the winds and waters to batter down Durin's hold. His friends and brothers and wedding guests were crushed beneath collapsing walls or blown out to sea. But Elenai sheltered Durin within her arms, so he took no harm. And when the dawn came, at last he declared war upon the gods and vowed to rebuild. 5 more castles he built, each larger and stronger than the last, only to see them smashed asunder with the gale winds came howling up Shipbreaker Brae, driving great walls of water before them. His lords pleaded with him to build inland. His priest told him he must placate the gods by giving Elenai back to the sea. Even his small folk begged him to relent. Durin would have none of it. A 7th castle he raised, most massive of all. Some said the children of the forest helped him build it, shaping the stones with magic. Others claimed that a small boy told him what he must do. A boy who would grow to be Bran the Builder. No matter how the tale was told, the end was the same. Though the angry gods threw storm after storm against it, the 7th castle stood. And that is, of course, Storm's End.
Yep. So that's interesting, right? I mean, I think the question afterwards was, is this
a clue to Bran existing? Yeah. And this is the Bran the Builder idea. Is that Bran, all the Brandons are one person, or that Bran, our current Bran, is actually Bran the Builder, like he went back in time. I don't know. I think that it is interesting because how is it that this young Bran, right? It seems like a young kid would grow to be Bran the Builder, who we know built the Wall, and I guess also built Storm's End,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a magical castle. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just sort of you really have to wonder, present Bran now, how much is he influencing or going to influence?
Mhm.
You know, and if he is messing with those events, okay, then there's then this would be one of those spots perhaps where he is, is he called upon, or did he go there? Was there some extra push, from our current brand, to tell former brand that he needed to go give aid to Storm End there, and
Right.
and to help raise this keep,
Right.
to the first Storm King. So I don't know.
Yeah. So hear me out.
I would
So
rather
here-
believe that it was
All right. So hear me
that
out
way.
on this, because I've been thinking a lot about Bran lately. I was watching this interview the other day with where Gura was talking about how Bran is the most difficult character to write, not because of all of his time controlling events, right? But just that Bran is this small kid, and he's like, you have to see it through the eyes of an 8-year-old. So when I hear him say something like that, I'm like, how is it that Bran, like, would
Have the knowledge.
have the knowledge about all this stuff? I mean, we know he does like stories, but so just when I hear him talk about how difficult it is to write Bran, that's just kind of one piece to my idea here. So my second one is, once you start getting into time travel, we've talked about how it kind of jacks up storylines. But when Bran becomes the three-eyed crow or raven in the show, like all of that stuff that Bran the Builder had done had already existed. So for that to happen, we're all either living in a timeline that is already influenced by Bran, or then Bran, there would be no reason for Bran to go back and fix things because they already would have happened, right? Like when you watch Back to the Future, you think about Marty McFly, the timeline that he starts off with is not the timeline he ends up in. He goes back in time and it changes things, right? Like when he goes back to his own timeline, his timeline is now drastically different, right? His dad is an author and they're rich, and he has like a big truck and all of that stuff. So we can't, if this is the case, then we cannot be in the original timeline. We will have, like, Bran things must have worked out similarly for Bran to become the three-eyed crow, gone back, changed things, and now we are in this changed time period.
Yep. Yeah, I get you. I mean, it's what you're saying is why are you writing from this timeline if focused on a character who then is trying to alter things,
right?
Because we never would get to see what that alteration will be.
Right.
Is that
right? Yeah, and so that's when you get into like time paradoxes and all that stuff. But if it does play out, the Hodor thing, right?
Yeah.
So that already happened. So, it's confusing. You know what I mean? Like it's confusing. But that's but the Hodor thing is not something as significant as like building Storm's End or building like the Wall. Right? Like those are like that's something that affects one person. Like in Doctor Who, the way they kind of explain it, and this is obviously another time travel show. I'm trying to remember which doctor it is. I think it's the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, kind of talks about like when you go back and you mess with things, they kind of work themselves out. It's more like, he's like, there's a big difference between like throwing a pebble into a pond and there's like ripples, but eventually the ripples kind of work themselves out, right? And the pond goes back to being smooth. And then there's like what he calls like fixed events, where there's like set things that like if you altered them, like it would drastically change the history. So maybe Bran doesn't alter these big significant things, or I don't know. It's hard. Time travel's hard.
I say leave it out.
But
Just leave it out.
something I thought that would be cool would be, what if the Night King somehow gains this power of time travel, and so it's kind of like Bran is fighting the Night King, like they're going back and forth the time, and they're like, he's trying to alter events, and Bran is like fixing them, and that's why Bran would have to go back and say, we need to build the wall, we need to do this, we need to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's really kind of my only explanation for Bran being all these other people, because otherwise the Bran we see now, the wall is already built, so why would he have to go back to have like Storm's End created?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, because it just doesn't, from this point of view, in this air quote timeline, it just doesn't necessarily make sense. But I get though where people have the idea that like a spirit or a reincarnation is sort of born again, Azor Ahai.
Yeah, I see that.
Again, and
I like
so
that. I find
yeah,
I find that more than the somehow three-eyed crow magic kind of thing.
Correct. So I think that's more plausible and something that we could learn more about.
Right.
But
this raven is just suggesting the idea of Bran existing throughout multiple areas of time. So that's so I am much more in line with you, as you just said. Right, the Bran kind of like are reincarnated or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is just super interesting the parallel there, in this young boy, this young
absolutely.
Bran,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's just cool. It's really cool. So
all right. Well, thank you very much, Brown Ben. That was good. All right, so we have.
Hey,
go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
Well, real quick, in the Hedge Knight, who was the Brown Knight?
Bennis the Brown.
Bennis. Okay, because that's okay. This reminded me of. Okay, that's funny.
All right, awesome. Here we have kind of two things from Sir Gibbs, the Inquisitive. One is something that he posted in the group, and a conversation kind of started, and then another one, which was a message on Patreon. And actually, if you're a patron, you can get on here, and it's kind of like another group, and there's always like kind of people can post there, and you can start discussions there as well. So, you want to read this one, Sir?
Yep. Yeah, I got it. Sure. So this is talking about Jamie here. You know what? I really like to say that I like book Jamie way more than show Jamie. I feel as though book Jamie is really not liking his sister. He's away and gets a raven begging him for help. What does he do? Ignores it and goes about his merry way with thoughts of, she's probably fucking Lancel, Osney Kettleblack, or Moonboy, for all I know. I really feel like his character arc in the books is much stronger than in the show. I do feel as though it will be book Jamie who kills Cersei. She treats him like a servant and walks all over him. And I feel he sees his way sooner in the books. I guess more so than Tyrion tells him who she has been banging. So yeah, more so than after Tyrion, lets him know about Moonboy.
Right.
Great shows, and always look forward to the next one. So
yeah, no, I kind of agree, and I think that he's set up more as as kind of an anti-hero in the books. In the show, we get those scenes where actually, you and I have talked about this with Jamie, is that he's not even really in the books. For the first book, he's like, I mean, you have like two scenes. You see him, but you don't really have conversations with him, right? Like,
correct. Yeah.
I mean, Joffrey is actually kind of similar in that Joffrey is way more prevalent in the show, and just as Jamie is in those first couple seasons, and it's because the writers knew about them, so they were kind of able to add scenes or kind of just display them differently. So I think it kind of works, and that's kind of what I think Sir Gibbs maybe feels the same way. Is that Jamie in the books, by the time you get to his first chapter, it's like, whoa, okay, because it starts off A Storm of Swords.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But just a quick side note here. Sorry, Sir Gibbs, my foot was cramping up the entire time I was reading that, so I could barely talk. Yeah, I'm actually in agreement. I think I like Book Jamie way more. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much more going on. It's very subtle, but yet there's a lot of it. There's a lot of subtlety. There's a lot of different types of characterization, and he's interesting. I think Cersei does sort of walk all over him. She obviously, when he leaves and she's there in King's Landing by herself, she clearly, isn't that attached to him. She has to be with someone. She
Right.
needs someone to, I don't know, prance around with. It's just it's crazy. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I think she was losing him before that. I also think the whole bit with Brienne really changed him. He came across someone, there who reminded him maybe even of the caliber of the, Sir Barristan the Bold, right? And so
Right.
some of those,
Yep.
Sir Arthur Dane, some of those knights who were like, I think he got reminded of that, and then he also had a lesson to teach her in that, about oaths and keeping your oaths and what,
Mm-hmm.
which oaths do you keep? We swear so many of them, so or
Right.
we take
and
so
he's
many.
and he's like
so,
oddly he's like oddly attracted to Brienne too.
Yeah.
His I think you get that more than you do in the show. I don't think you really get you can tell there's kind of an attraction there. In the books, it's way more prevalent. Like because you get Jaime's internal monologue, and he's like he talks about her teeth are crooked and stuff, but for some reason he still kind of finds her attractive.
Yeah, in the show, it just seems more like Brienne is embarrassed and more, which she is in the book too, but
Right.
more enamored with him than he is with
Right.
her.
Well, she's also
Whereas in the
she's also a far more attractive character
God,
in the show than she is in the books.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I always forget Gwyneth something. I always forget her name. Captain Phasma is
Christy.
Yeah, is that what it is? Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, Gwyneth Christie or something like that. I can't remember. I could be totally 100% wrong. Anyway,
Gwendolyn Christie.
Gwendolyn Christie. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, okay.
So
All right. So here is one. This was kind of a discussion that started in the group, also from Sir Gibbs. There's a Jon chapter in Dance of Dragons that describes a member of the Umber family having their daughter stolen by the wildlings 30 years previous to current date. This was dropped as a factoid that initially I thought would be nothing. But moments later, Val is a topic of discussion. Could Val be the missing Umber daughter? I'm now going to listen to Dance of Dragons to try and isolate the chapter and segment that is mentioned. I am really starting to learn the way of her being an Umber, but I need more info on Val. Like, how old is she currently in A Song of Ice and Fire?
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah. So Sir Ezra, you're kind of the Val, expert here. So I'm going to kind of defer to you on this one.
Okay. Well, so I think it's interesting that there is that missing Umber, family member.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did some research originally on Val, this is back in the first thing I thought when I read that is just that Val is possibly too young.
Right.
And I'm not just. I was actually, as soon as I read this, Sir Gibbs, I was thinking about her sister, and I'm trying to do a quick little, look up here as Sir Matt was reading that. Dala,
Mm-hmm.
who is the wife of Mance Rayder,
Right. Yep.
who I believe it might actually be a little closer to that age. But I want to see. It's just she died in 300, but I don't know exactly how old she was, and we don't really
right. And we also don't know 100% for certain. Correct me if I'm wrong. We don't know 100% for certain why Mance Rayder kind of left the Night's Watch. But we do know that he he had traveled to Winterfell and stuff while he was in the Night's Watch. So is it possible that maybe he kind of favored this girl who he's now kind of saying is a member of is a wildling, but may actually not be?
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to figure out. Is that is there any evidence that would suggest that like that Dala and Val had come from the south?
Well,
I was just looking
it
real
would
quick.
explain a lot more about why maybe Mance Rayder knows all of these things that he shouldn't. If Mance Rayder is just some, kind of wildling boy that was taken and put into the Night's Watch and kind of then,
Yeah.
reverts back.
Yeah. Like the crazy thing is, I mean, like Val is described as the wildling princess,
Mm-hmm.
and she just does. She seems more like she has some type of highborn edge
Right.
to her,
Yep.
or like a grace, even in her garments. Even though the way in which she's dressed is still kind of like of the north, it's still a much more graceful look, cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So wearing all white, white woolen pants, tucked
Right.
into high boots, bleached white leather, white bearskin cloak pinned to the shoulder. I mean, she was kind of decked out, and so I feel like she is possibly of some type of noble birth,
Yeah.
and so I could see the Umbers are, like a great house in the north, so that makes sense. I just was wondering about whether or not Dala might have been maybe older, or even their mother, which we don't know anything about their mother. And I actually even wondered, in all seriousness, if it says Val is a member of the Free Folk, she is the sister of Dala, the wife of Mance Rayder. But I don't know if they're actually sisters. Is
It's
what I'm
true.
getting to.
Yeah, no, that's possible. Well, I mean, especially if you get into is Mance somebody else he's not supposed to be, right? Is he Arthur Dayne? Is he possibly Rhaegar?
Yeah.
And that's something to think about. I mean, that's really kind of the Val area to explore is, if she was an Umber daughter, what would that do to that Mance Rayder being Arthur Dayne theory or Rhaegar theory? How does that affect that? But I don't know. I'm gonna have to dig deeper into this. Her possibly being an Umber theory.
Yeah, and right, and just going missing 30 years prior to the start of the novel. I don't know. I don't know. That's pretty cool. Who if it's not Val or Dala or whoever, who could that be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, who's still kind of and how old was that person? But does he say how old she was when she went missing? Let's see. Did Sir Gibbs mention that?
No,
Let me
I
look
don't
real
believe
quick.
so.
It just says- Okay, just gotcha. So that chapter John chapter Dance of Dragons described that a member of the Umber family, their daughter was stolen by the wildlings 30 years previous. Okay, gotcha. Stolen. So I was trying to figure out like how that person went missing. So who is that? So obviously it's somebody. They have to be north of the wall. Who else could it be, Sir Matt?
I don't
who
know.
else is sort of like that kind of noble birth?
Moore's Umber called Crowfood, the Great John's uncle and brother to Hother. He has deceased sons during Robert's Rebellion and a daughter carried off by wildlings 30 years prior to A Game of Thrones.
Wow. Huh. 30 years prior could definitely have been the mother to Val and Dala, though. You know what I'm saying?
That's true, yeah.
That's what I was thinking more. So I don't know. It could be totally, because I believe I could be totally wrong. In my research, I was trying to figure out, and I think History of Westeros or somebody I got to give credit to had tracked down that Val was closer to like 18,
Right.
It just seemed like she was. Was all around that year. 280, 283 was a part of the whole discussion as to whether or not it could be Jon's sister, all that kind of stuff. So just the way in which she's described, and then she has an older sister, So yeah, I don't know. Well, there's also what's her name?
It just says his sons were killed during the Battle of the Trident in Robert's Rebellion, and his only daughter was abducted in 270 AC by wildlings, leaving Moors with a deep hatred of the free folk. How are they abducted? I'm gonna have to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been raiding. I mean, because the Umbers are close. Like they live much further north. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know. It's a great catch though. It's a great catch, and I would love to, find a connection. What's her name?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
she sneaks.
it looks I mean, it is way closer to the wall than than Winterfell is.
Right.
I mean, if you just look at the region of the North Winterfell is almost smack dab in the middle, and if you kind of consider the wall, I would say the last hearth, which is where the Umbers are from, is only about 10%. So it's like 90% close to the wall. That's where they're at. So they're not that far. I don't know how many miles or leagues that is, but it doesn't look like that many.
Right. But much easier to carry off and then either sneak back over the wall or what have you. Yeah. So for sure. What's the wildling that sneaks out? Is it Osha? Osha?
Yeah. Osha.
Is that her name?
Osha, yeah.
I wonder how old she is.
Okay.
I don't know. Just wondering.
I don't know. I don't know if we have an age for her.
I'm just trying to think of females that we interact with, that are wildlings now. That could be that could fit that.
Yeah, we don't know. It doesn't say
description.
I would imagine Osha seems like she's a little bit older though. Not just even
she seems like a wildling.
Yeah, I mean not just by her character in the show, but even in the books, it seems like she's a little bit older.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right. Here's this one. I'll let you read this next one, Sir Ezra, as it's your best friend.
Yep. So we have the Ghost of Harrenhal back with another Raven. Let's see here. We have looks like we've got an excerpt from Brienne, A Feast of Crows 7. So here it is. "You did beautifully," she said, when the woman showed her the freshly painted shield. It was more a picture than a proper coat of arms, and the sight of it took her back, through the long years, to the cool dark of her father's armory. She remembered how she'd run her fingertips across the cracked and faded paint, over the green leaves of the tree, and along the path of the falling star. It just makes you feel good. Makes you feel good. So the ghost goes on to say here, Evenfall has the same shield as Sir Duncan the Tall. In Hedge Knight, the Tanzel-painted original shield is splintered beyond repair and has to be used it has to be used another with a hanged man, giving him basically he has to use another shield, and he has the Gallow Knights on that shield. But somehow the Tarths end up with this old shield. Ger confirmed that Brienne is a direct descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall. But wait, in a world of ice and fire, the Tarths are said to have blood ties to House Durrandon, Baratheon, and Targaryen, which means Dunk most likely marries one of Egg's sisters. Tarth doesn't seem a likely match for royalty, but this litter seemed to marry for love. Tarth is sworn to House Baratheon, but Lord Selwyn of Evenfall sent Brienne to Renly and refused Davos' request to support Stannis. Why would the Tarths and the Tyrells side with Renly? Is it because Stannis is too much iron, too cold and brittle, and not true steel like Robert? Maybe Selwyn sent Brienne to potentially knock Stannis out of the game and knew a shiny copper Renly wouldn't last. Ger confirmed that the word she shouts when Lady Stoneheart threatens hanging is sword. Brienne is going to plunge Oathkeeper into Jaime's lion heart to save Pod and become the prince, unisex, that was promised. She's got the blood. She's Duncan's only no confirmed descendant, and it's just too wonderful to hope for. What if she's on the Iron Throne in the end and marries Tormund Giantsbane, a man who actually adores her for her over every other betrothal that hasn't panned out for her? I hope she unites the free folk to Westeros as the 8th kingdom. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot there. That's awesome. So thanks again to the Ghost. Sir Matt, thoughts?
Yeah, that's a lot. That's definitely that's really interesting. Actually, that is something that has caught me off guard a little bit here as I digest
Yeah.
this here. Just having the similar shield to Sir Duncan the Tall.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, we've always known that that there was that connection.
Right. That Gur had said that a character would kind of be shown. Yeah. Um. Just real quick here. Lady Stonehearts threatens hanging is sword, but Brienne is going to plunge Oathkeeper into Jaime's Lionheart to save Pod and become the prince that was promised. She's got the blood. Yeah, I mean, hey, I still like the idea of the Azor Ahai being someone who we don't suspect. Right? Like I think there's evidence for a lot of people. I mean, you could really kind of make evidence for just about anyone. I think it would be kind of better if Gur had it not be like Jon Snow or Daenerys and it was like the Hound or Brienne.
Yeah.
Cuz then it just I don't know, it makes it cooler, right? It's not what you had expected. And I think that's kind of his writing style, so.
Yeah, this is neat, and I know there's a lot of fans for Brienne, and I am a fan as well. I thought it was interesting here, the note that, which means Dunk most likely married one of Egg's sisters, because the Ghost is going back to the reference in A World of Ice and Fire. The Tarths are said to have blood ties to House Durrandon, Baratheon, and Targaryen, which means that Dunk most likely married one of Egg's sisters. So do you see the connection that is being made there? It's sort of like because there's this reference to this shield, and that's held, and that is cherished. That I don't know. So because does Dunk have his own? I'm still trying to make the connection between Dunk and the Tarths. You know,
Right.
I don't know. I'm just a little confused, I guess, or taken back here. But the idea that Dunk marry, you know, or is that the Dunk? Is that Duncan as in like Egg's son?
Right.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I don't know.
So. No. So, would Brienne sitting on the Iron Throne? I don't know.
I
man.
find
Could
that
you
unlikely.
imagine that? That would be, that would be crazy.
What I think would be cool
being
for
a hero,
right? I think it would be cool if Brienne ends up as the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
Okay, sure.
I think that'd be a super cool thing, right? Because that's all she wants is to be like a knight, and then she kind of gets that Kingsguard title, and then. Also like Sir Duncan the Tall, kind of goes along with that as well. I don't know. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, and also she's that younger generation. She's one of the few who have, as I said earlier, that same caliber of honor and duty that like Sir Barristan and Arthur Dayne and Gerald Hightower had.
Right.
And so that's where Jaime sees that in her. So her being that hero, the Kingsguard, is cool. Even if she's still hooking up with, Tormund or whoever, which would be really awesome, actually. So,
well, isn't Jaime still technically the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard?
Yeah.
So he could just put her in the Kingsguard. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If he doesn't die, like if he survives.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and so right now, I mean, she's going, as the Ghost has mentioned here, right before it's all back. I mean, everything hangs on what Lady Stoneheart wants to do here. So that's key. So like Lady Stoneheart has the power to, and she's trying to hang her, and so then, but Brienne yells out sword, and I don't know. So Brienne is on her way, possibly right to meet up with Jaime and plunge Oathkeeper into his heart, forge that sword, and become the prince that was promised.
Right.
So that I could see that I actually that part makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, I think she will be standing next to the Iron Throne, just not sitting on it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that seems more likely to me as well.
Yeah, but everybody's got their favorites, and everybody's got to
hey, it's true.
root for their guy or gal to get on that throne.
I'd be okay with it either way. I'm okay with Brienne. I like Brienne of Tarth.
I'm still rooting for Arya or bring back Beric Dondarrion. So I mean,
Yeah.
So, but
okay, all right. Last question here, but first let's do trivia.
Oh yeah,
let's do trivia. What are the names of Tommen's cats? What are the names of Tommen's cats? There we go. Good.
Let us know about them cats, man.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
it's a good one.
That's awesome.
All right. That's from Doug. He's still kind of working. He says he's working. He says can't think of a cool name yet. He's from Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh. He lives in St. Louis now, and I lived in Cleveland for a bit. Oh, okay. So he seems kind of a traveler. He traveled from the Steel City to the gateway to the west, and then he lived in Cleveland for a bit. He says maybe Sir Douglas of the Burning River. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. Okay. Hey guys, I am a new listener to the podcast. I was originally a big show guy, but I was looking for something to curb my GOT addiction during this long layover between seasons 7 and 8. That is when I came across your podcast, and I got really interested in the books and learning more about the story Gur has put together. Anyway, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about famous swords of the different houses in Game of Thrones, like Ice, Heartsbane. I always found them to be interesting and didn't know if there was enough information about them to be able to discuss. Thanks. No, there's, quite a lot. There's a lot of theories behind them and stuff like that. But I guess let's just talk about some of our favorite swords, Sir Ezra. I think the first one we see is Ice, and there are tons of theories about Ice and how cool it is. And it's this enormous great sword that House Stark has that's Valyrian steel, and even Catelyn Stark talks about how it has this, she doesn't like swords, but it has this really kind of unique beauty to it.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And it's like it's more of like a ceremonial sword. It's actually what's used to kill Ned Stark. And then it gets burnt.
Which is crazy.
It is.
Just crazy.
Yeah. And then it gets broken down by Toho Mott into Oathkeeper and Widow's Wail. And we don't really know where Widow's Wail is. So those are the two first Valyrian steel swords that House... I still find that crazy. That was the first Valyrian steel swords that House Lannister had, right? Because they had one and they lost it a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lion's Tooth, or no, not Lion's Tooth. Gosh dang it. What was the name of that? Right, it went with the one guy, the Laughing Lion, right? Who ended up lost.
Right. I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I pulled up a couple of the different swords here, and you've got just run down. Is it okay to run down a few of them?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. So you just mentioned Heartsbane. You've got Ice, as you said, Oathkeeper, which I just pulling out some of the swords that we know, which is given by Jaime to Brienne of Tarth. Widow's Wail, again, those were the two that were kind of broken down from Ice. Lady Forlorn, which is actually kind of cool. The ancestral sword of House Corbray. So, Corbray, legend, like there were several Corbrays that were in the Kingsguard.
Right.
And so they're kind of a house that's known, as having renowned knights. So there's that. Longclaw, House Mormont is there. We've got Blackfire, Bright Roar. Is that what you found? Bright Roar?
Bright Roar, yep.
Yeah. Okay, there it is. Awesome. So Bright Roar, the ancestral sword of House Lannister, which was lost on an expedition to Valyria. So there's that. Dark Sister, which is a long sword of House Targaryen, held by Visenya Targaryen. And it says lost during the Blackfire Rebellion. So there's that. There are more, though. That was just some of the Valyrian steel swords. Let's see if we can find another list here.
Well, I mean,
because we have,
right,
for example,
there's
Dawn.
There's Dawn. Yeah. There was a couple more I was gonna talk about. There's like the dagger, excuse me, that we know. You know, there's the Valyrian steel dagger. Yeah, and then Blackfire and Dark Sister and Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, and honestly, never forget the most important sword of all, Needle, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
hey, that's true too. Yeah, don't discount Needle. Actually, Needle may be super important. We don't know.
Yeah, you never know. So, but I don't know. Some of my favorite, I guess, my favorite is obviously Dawn. I think that's just super cool. You know that we have that sword. But I did like the idea of the Corbreys, you know? I like that they were, kind of had their own sword. I know there's more. I'm trying to find a bigger list here. I don't know if I can find it, though.
Right. I like the look of Dark Sister, just in like the wiki. I kind of like the way I kind of like the way it looks more than I think I like the way Blackfire looks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then there's like what is it, Lion's Tooth, which Joffrey has, like it's thrown into the river, and then he has Heart Eater, I think is one that is the next one he has, that he makes Sansa kiss, and then he loses it during the Battle of the Blackwater. And then there's like Stannis' sword, which is the fake Lightbringer, but it's kind of has something going on with it to at least make it look interesting.
Gotcha.
And there's Robert's Warhammer.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wish there were kind of like a definitive, like list of all these swords and stuff like that. There's really just the wiki is kind of the best place to find it.
Yeah, and I just clicked on swords in there, and I think we've listed most of them.
Right.
At least the ones that are kind of popping up here. So if you guys know of more that we can add to the list, love to talk about them. Like, okay, here's one that we didn't mention. Red Rain is a Valyrian steel sword belonging to House Drum.
Okay.
So let's there we go. Feast of Crows. Lord Dustin Drum draws and displays Red Rain during the King's Moot.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of cool. So, and that's over in that's in chapter 19 of A Feast of Crows, The Drowned Man. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's just a weird little
sword, yeah.
That's all there is on the wiki about that, and that's it. So, it's kind of funny. It's Valyrian steel though, which is big deal actually. So,
yeah, I'm trying to see if there's other ones kind of pulled up here. I'm not really seeing anything specific here.
Oh, here we go. Nightfall is a Valyrian steel longsword belonging to House Harlaw. It's currently wielded by Sir Harris Harlaw.
Okay.
The sword has a moonstone pommel, so that's pretty cool, right? So that is really neat. Dalton Greyjoy took Nightfall from a dead courtier. It is also yet unknown how the sword passed to House Harlaw. So it's in A Feast of Crows, chapter 19, 29, and it's also in A World of Ice and Fire, the Iron Islands. So there's that. So, wow, the Iron Islands has got a couple, had some Valyrian steel there, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Oh, wow.
Go.
Okay, hold on a second here, Ez.
Yeah.
What happened? This is a So Spake Martin from 2002.
Okay.
Okay. What happened to Sir Arthur Dayne's sword, Dawn, after Ned brought it back to Ashara? Dawn remains at Starfall until another Sword of the Morning shall arise.
Yeah.
So Dawn is at Starfall? Is that like?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
And Edric Dane is going back to
get
Starfall.
it. Yeah.
He's going back to get it. I mean, that's what I keep thinking. I'm like, he is going back. He is Beric Dondarrion's squire, and he's been with the Brotherhood Without Banners. And I'm telling you, Lady Stoneheart has just pissed him off, and so he's going to do what's right. He's going to go back. He's seasoned a little bit, So, yeah, I don't know. Super cool.
Okay.
So there's a couple other ones if you guys want to go look them up. Orphan Maker, Valyrian Steel, House Roxton, that's mentioned in A World of Ice and Fire, The Princess and the Queen. So, I love that they have names, man. I love that they've got like names and they just kind of belong to these different families. You get some background here. The Nightfall though, that's a pretty sick sword. It's got a nice picture, and it's got that moonstone pommel, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm cool. I'm glad somebody sent that Raven in because I'm looking up all these swords right now and it's fantastic.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, everyone, that's our show for this week, Sir Ezra.
Yep.
I guess I should probably pull up some lingo here. Do we have another one? Do we have one?
I don't have one. No. No, you just wing it.
Just wing it. All right. I think we're reading Tyrion on Monday, so it's always important to remember that a Lannister always pays their debts.